Hello, everybody. Welcome. I will give it just a minute for everybody to join, and then we'll jump right in. Feel free to say hi. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Maureen. Say hi in the comments. Let me know where you're joining from. Throughout today's webinar, we're going to be focused on 2.0. We've gotten some feedback since the last webinars, and also just since people have had a chance to kind of get into the software and use it, into the new version. So we're just going to be walking through some of the big tools, and I'm going to be showing you how I use certain tools to build out a kitchen with more precision, and also just ways of making it a faster process. That being said, the focus is going to be mostly on the guidelines tool, which is available in 3D mode, and grouping and cloning products and how the grouping tool has changed and improved. Then we'll go into export floor plan, and I'll show you how to get top views of the floor plan itself and also of the ceiling plan for electrical plans. But any questions that you have related to Foyer 2.0, please feel free to ask them. We'll have a Q&A at the end. So I'll go into any questions that you have related to Foyer. It doesn't have to be specific to those tools. Hi, Jessica, how are you? Hey, Latoya, how's it going? Jessica, I think we've had a masterclass together once before. Okay. All righty. Welcome, everybody. Let me just reiterate, for those of you who are just joining, we're going to get started here. Hi, Birney. Any questions that you have, add them to chat or Q&A. I'm good, thanks. And we're going to be focused on Foyer 2.0. Specifically, I'm going to show you how to build out this kitchen and how I did that using guidelines and the grouping and cloning tool to make it a faster process. But any questions you have related, please let me know. I'm going to get started right now. Let me make myself disappear here. You guys can see my screen. Perfect. Okay, so this is a really great example for this tool. This was a little apartment plan that I had to build out recently. And really what the client was looking for was the specs of the floor plan itself. And I wanted to make sure the kitchen is a great example because there's so many measurements that we need to have precise, right? So a few examples that I'm going to show you today are the distance between the top of a counter to the bottom of the wall units needs to be 18 inches, right? In the US. The distance between the top of the island countertop to the bottom of a pendant light is about 30 inches. Typically for base units, we have a 6-inch toe kick from floor to where the cabinet starts. All sorts of options there, right? So I'm going to show you in the last webinar where we talked about guidelines for Foyer 2.0, which was 2 weeks ago, and it is on our YouTube channel. I showed you how to use guidelines to space out your recessed lighting on the ceiling. So this time around, I want to show you how to use the guidelines tool on different planes to get these specific measurements. We'll also be going over using it on the floor to make sure that our walking paths are between 2 to 3 feet, which is standard for the US at least. Okay. That being said, let's get started. So the first thing that I want to do is just double click on these wall units here. What I did was I placed them all as needed. I hadn't placed my backsplash here yet. And then realized that these were way too high above the counter and I needed to bring them all down. I didn't want to bring one down at a time. And I also didn't know how to measure 18 inches above counter. So that is where guidelines comes in. Let me show you first. I'm going to set that measuring point and then we're going to group all of our cabinets and bring them down together. So the guidelines tool in Foyer 2.0 is right up here. It looks like this little ruler. When you click on it, your cursor is going to change. And now you'll see that I have different planes that I can click on. I'm going to click along this edge here because it's right at that seam. I'm going to click once. I'm not holding down my left click. I'm just selecting the one time. And now I can bring it up. What I'm going to do is just type in, as soon as that little window pops up, type in 18 inches and click enter. it will set for me here. And you guys can see that red line. And make sure that I have object snapping turned on. The default is that it will be turned on, but if you're anything like me, I turn it on and off all the time in projects. But if you want if you want products to snap onto your guidelines line here, you need to have object snapping turned on, okay? Alrighty, so now that I have this nice little line of where my cabinets need to come down to, the next thing that I'm going to do is group all of these cabinets. So I'm working on a MacBook. I'm going to hold down Command, and then I'm going to click on each one of these. If you're working on an HP, you're going to hold down the Control key and then click. Okay, so holding down my Command key, click, click, and click. And I can click on all of these. I'm going to just use the scroll on my mouse to zoom on out. And you'll notice that it's picking up all of these, which is really nice. If I need to orbit at all, I can also just release, move on over to get the right angle. And I haven't lost this grouping. So this is one of the nice improvements of this grouping tool, is that now I let go of my command, but I can hold it back down, click on this, and now I've got everything. I'm going to click on group. Now all of these will move together. Another addition to the grouping tool is that I can put things into free movement and I can manipulate them. Size, rotation, I can rotate in free movement, which means I can rotate in all directions. These were options once you grouped a product that weren't previously available in the old version of Foyr. So now, since I need to move these down and I don't have that arrow yet, I'm going to put it into free movement, and now I can snap it on down to my guidelines. Guidelines line. There we go. Let me double click. So now I know that I'm working with cabinetry that is 18 inches above the counter. Okay. And you can see that kind of at the edge here, that red line and the bottom of my wall cabinets. So that's number one, way easier than doing it one cabinet at a time. And also now we know it's precise and we're not just kind of guesstimating as to what 18 inches above the counter looks like. Okay, next up, let's check our pendant lights. So like I said earlier, our pendant light the bottom of our pendant light should be about 18 inches above the kitchen island. So I'm going to once again grab my guidelines tool. And real quick here, when you turn guidelines on, that's when the trim to get rid of this line appears. So this is a question that came up in a masterclass today. They said, I want to trim some of these lines, not all of them, just some, but I don't know where it went. You click on guidelines and then it becomes active. If any of this isn't making sense while I'm going through it, or if you have other questions related to Foyr 2.0, please do ask them. I just saw in the comments there, and I'll get to it at the end. So I'm going to click on this little trim tool, and I'm just going to double click here. We'll just click once, and now it's gone. I'm going to click the escape key, and it's going to turn the trim tool off, but it's not going to turn the guidelines tool off. Okay, so it's just going to go back one. Now I'm going to zoom on out here for a second. And this is important, what I want to show you. So when I hover over here, this is actually the custom countertop that I built using Create New Product. So I'm just going to scoot over here, and now I'm highlighting the cabinet or the kitchen island itself. So you'll notice that right now, I'm working from the side. It's still the top of the counter, but I'm working on the vertical plane. If I work from here, I'm working on the horizontal plane. So if I were to click on this edge right now and move my cursor, it's going to move side to side because I'm on the vertical plane. That's not what I want to measure right now, right? I want to measure vertically. So I'm going to select the vertical plane here and the top of that cabinet. I'm just going to angle myself so that I can see. Now I'm going to click once, move this on up, and I'm not holding down my left click. And what I can do, I hope you guys can see this, is hover it over the pendant light, and you'll see the bottom of the pendant light will highlight blue. Okay. So that's telling me I'm at 2 feet 10 inches. I want to simply set this to 30 inches. So I'm going to do that. Get that guideline here. And now we can see I definitely need to change the length of the cord for this pendant light because it's way too high right now. So now that I have this nice guide, I can click on this and I can resize it on down to be level. And there we go. Check the chat box. Awesome. So Ryan is also giving you guys some great info in the chat box about all of the previous webinars that I've done and also tutorials that are on our YouTube channel as a reference for you guys. Okay, I like to get rid of the guidelines as I go. If you have a lot of guidelines and you don't necessarily want to get rid of them, but you want to hide them out of the way because they're a little distracting, you can go to File, down to Settings, and then you can turn guidelines off. And if you have any red lines in the space, it's not going to turn the tool off. It's just going to turn those red lines off and get them out of your face for a little bit. Okay, so that's right here. Okay. So another thing that I needed to do here was create a 6-inch toe kick, and you can do that like this. I'm just double clicking. And this keeps coming up this week. This is not related to Foyer 2.0 specifically. It works in both versions, but the pan tool, which we have available right here, if you're using a mouse, which I highly recommend you use a mouse for this software, you can also just hold down your right click on your mouse and that activates the pan tool. So you don't have to go over here, click, turn pan on, and then turn it off. So you'll notice here, I want to be a little bit more centered. I'm going to hold down my right click, move my mouse down, and now I've activated pan tool. I can move side to side, up and down. I call it mime hands, because that's basically what it allows you to do. And then when I click on my left click and hold it down, that's where I get that orbit side to side or tilt up and down. Okay, so a handy tool for when you need to center on things. This is something that I realized that several designers were not aware of this week. So I just wanted to let you know in case you weren't. All right, so right click, pull it on down. And again, I'm going to grab my guidelines tool. I'm going to click along this edge. I'm working on the vertical plane, which is exactly what I need to be, where I need to be. And then I'm going to bring it on up. I can set it to 6 inches. Click enter. I keep clicking the wrong key there. And then I can click escape to get out of that tool and then bring my cabinet shutter down to that line. And it will help by snapping me into place. You can do the exact same process of grouping all of these cabinet shutters here so that you're not bringing each one individually down to 6 inches. You're just doing the first one and then group them and bring them all down together. If you want to see that again, let me know. Okay, so let me make sure. So the first thing that we did is we set 18 inches between counter and wall unit. We set our pendant light to hang 30 inches above the kitchen island using guidelines. And we set our toe kick to 6 inches above ground level. Now what I want to check is I want to make sure that I've created enough walking space for people to actually walk around this kitchen. So standard distance is between 2 and 3 feet walking clearance in the US. Whatever it is in the country that you're located, you can do this exact same process. So I'm going to grab my guidelines, get this nice top view. And now I'm going to click on, let's say, the island here. Ooh, let me zoom in a bit. If you find that your mouse is getting like a little confused, it's probably because you're just a little too zoomed out. So just zoom on in and that should help. You can click on this structure here, this entryway, or we can click over here. I'm going to click and orbit my screen around here. Activate my pan tool by holding down my right click. And then I kind of want to focus here. So now I'm on the horizontal plane. I'm going to pull this on out. So I can just hover. I don't need to click because I don't necessarily need to mark this. I can see I have 2 feet, 5 inches and a little bit. So I know that I'm good for walking clearance there. Click escape. And then I can just double check over here, make sure I don't have to move anything. So because this countertop is activating, let's see if we can troubleshoot this. So I created, let me explain to you guys what's happening right now. I created this countertop that's sitting on top of the base units as a custom product in create new product. So if you use that tool, you know you have to draw the larger rectangle first and then create the L shape and slice away at this little center part to create the cavity. But because that was a part of because the big rectangle was the original structure, back here in 3D mode, it's still recognizing the original structure rather than the new cut. So that being said, we're going to have to get a little crafty with how we take this measurement. I'm going to orbit down here and see if I can get in kind of below the counter. And now I'm going to click. Oops. Here we go. Let's see if I can click here and pull this out. Let me zoom out for you guys to show this distance here. Hopefully, there we go. That's what I was looking for. This is the plane we want to be working on, right? This is the vertical, and I'm waiting for that square that's around my circle where my cursor is to run flat against the floor. So it's highlighting blue for me and telling me that I'm there. Now I can drag it and you can see it's working along that plane. Just gonna hover it right in front of the fridge door there, and I have 2 feet, 9.9 inches. So I'm good as well. Right. So I ran into a little bit of a constraint up here at countertop level. So I activated my pan tool, and now we're like literally working down underneath, and we're able to still get that measurement. So if you run into that issue, bring it down to ground level. That should help. Okay. All righty. So last thing I want to show you, one of the things that can be a little frustrating, and this is an improvement that's coming soon. Kitchen building in general is going to be improved upon. You'll be able to select a cabinet shutter, select the hardware that you'd like, the finish that you'd like, and then the software will bam, 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 create that for you in the space. For now, one thing that's nice about grouping and cloning is that, like I said earlier, we can manipulate grouped products in the same way that we can manipulate individual products, which was not previously available. So that makes applying hardware a lot easier. So I'm just going to double click here. It's going to zoom me in. I'm going to drag and drop some hardware. And I'm going to apply the finish that I'd like. There we go. Double click again to zoom me in and just get my placement correct. Make sure that you're using the arrows themselves and not just grabbing a hold of the product so that you're going to have greater control. Okay. Now I'm going to clone this. It's going to attach to my cursor. And now I'm going to group these. So hold down Command, click and click on group. And now let me just zoom out a bit. You can also use I'm using my down arrow key to zoom out. These are all going to be little individual hardware. So I'm going to pan over here and I'm going to apply it here. So I'm going to click on clone. And one of the nice things about the new the difference between cloning and the original software and now is that before, when you would clone, it would just clone on the same plane right next to you, right next to the original product, but it wouldn't attach to your cursor. So you would have to rotate it. Now it attaches to your cursor. So you'll see here, I'm not just able to dock it here. I'm able to dock it here as well. So now I'm just going to take it where I need it and dock it there. Let's try that once more. I was a little zoomed out. Okay. If you need to rotate, you can put it into free movement, rotate it, and then make any corrections. There we go. Snapped into place for me. Perfect. So if you had a whole line of cabinets, you could just do this once and clone, 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 and place it. And now you're not dragging and dropping a single pull over and over again and aligning it. Okay, let me check the chat real quick. Sure, Jessica, you want to see grouping one more time? I can do that for you. Sorry for the background noise, guys. Not sure what that is. Okay, let me show you grouping. I'm actually going to show you in this bedroom here because this is a nice, easy example. Or you know what? Let's do the dining room. So let's say you've placed your table and chairs. Sure. We've placed our table and chairs here. And now I want to move them around the space. I don't want to have to move each one individually. I'm going to click on it. I'm using a Mac, so I'm holding down Command. If you're using an HP, you're going to hold down Control. Click, 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 oops, click, 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 and click. Let's see. I might have some of these grouped. Hold on. There we go. That's why. So these are grouped right now. I'm going to ungroup them to start. And these are grouped. Let me ungroup them. Okay. There we go. So now all 5 pieces can be grouped by selecting there. You can also ungroup. And let's see. You can also group a product and then group the group to something else, which is not available before. And then when you ungroup, it ungroups in layers and it works its way backward. So let's say we wanted to group these chairs first. I would click on each one and group it. Right, and now let's say, okay, so this is independent of the table. Now let's say I decide, you know what, I want to move the table with it. You don't have to ungroup this and then start from scratch. Click on the chairs, hold down Command, click on the table, and now we've added to the group by clicking group, and now all of them will move together. But when I ungroup, it's going to first just ungroup the table. Okay, so now the chairs are still grouped. There we go. The table is separate, and I would have to click ungroup again to have each individual chair be movable. Does that make sense? Being able to grouped products is really nice. Okay, the new grouping aspects are making me so happy. Okay, any questions with what we've gone over so far? I'm going to stop mid so that you guys aren't kind of losing track. Awesome, Jessica. Okay, so Latoya is asking, in the previous version, there was the ability to view the position of an object in measurements. For example, if you were able to see the distance of the object from the floor, is that option still available? Yes. Or is there a way to ensure placement of objects such as handles are in the same place throughout? Yes, understood. Okay, so what you're referring to is the raise from floor. So let me find a good example here. Let's just use the TV quickly. So let's say, you know, you wanted to have the TV be a certain distance from certain rise from floor. You would simply select it, and it looks a little different now. So this is a great question. When you click on edit, the old version used to say, right, all of this looks different, right? It used to say raise from floor, and then you would enter that dimension. Where that lives now is down here under position, and it's the Y. It's always the Y. So your Y is your raise from floor, and then you can set that specifically. And you'll see that moves up. If you're working with a floor docked item, why we would want to rise this above the floor, I'm not sure, but this is just a good example. You'll see we only have arrows going up and down and side to side right now. When I click on edit, the Y is not active. That's because why would it need to be, right? But sometimes maybe we have like a, a second level here, like a raised floor, and we want to bring something up off the ground. Maybe we've accidentally placed a pillow on the floor, and now we need to drag it, we want to bring it up and place it on the sofa. What you'll do is click on the object, put it into free movement. Now we have the arrow giving us the option to raise it off the floor, which means you've also activated the raise from floor under edit. So when you click on this pencil, now this is active and you can set that dimension. You could also use the guidelines tool. So in the same way that let me go back into the kitchen. In the same way that I set my guidelines for this 18-inch gap here, and then cloned all of my cabinets and then raised them or brought them down to that guideline, you can do the same exact process with the hardware. Or you can just click on it, click here, and enter it, as a pair. Okay, does that answer your question? Cool. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm gonna go into export floor plan now, but if any questions pop up here or otherwise, just give me a shout and we'll get into that. So let's go. Let's say now we're ready to show our top view plans for our floor plan and our ceiling plan. Double check this. Awesome. We're going to go back into 2D mode to get that. So here we'll go back to 2D. There we are. Alrighty, so another thing that's a little different, before when you would click on export floor plan, it would give you this same view that we're looking at right now, and you would just be able to crop it and then download that as an image file. You still have that option. It's just under file, and it's called download floor plan. So this is what it looked like prior, right? And then you just click download. For export floor plan, this is where we're getting those black and white 2D views. So I'm going to click on export. I don't know if that's really loud for you guys. I'm so sorry. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. And now we have this lovely view, but my, oh my, is it busy with all of these dimensions. So I'm going to show you how you can hide certain things away. First thing that I'm going to do is just crop this view. This is an important step because when we go and click on export, if we have all of this extra white space outside of our floor plan, it's going to make the floor plan itself very small on our paper when we print it out, which we don't want. So make sure not to skip this step, and then do leave a little bit of a border. We don't want it to be too close. There we go. This is just like your aspect ratio tool in render mode, works the same way. Okay, now so busy. Maybe I have set, so what I first want to do is hide away some of these dimensions. Maybe my client doesn't need all of this. So I'm going to click on hide layer. And that's going to bring you up 4 different options. So if I hide room titles, that's going to hide the square footage that's in the center here for every single room. You'll notice that disappears. If I hide, well, I'm going to keep ruler for just a second to show you. If I hide dimension labels, that hides all of those interior wall dimensions, all of my closets, and all that aren't so busy. You'll see that I've used the ruler tool. So the ruler tool is the same as it has been from 2D mode. I wanted to mark that the hallway was 3 feet, which is standard for, minimum standard for US. And I wanted to mark, this is actually for the old island that I had, but the walking spaces here to show my client that they did in fact have enough room to walk around. Maybe I want to keep this, or maybe I want to hide it away. I can click on hide ruler and I can tuck those away as well and just show the floor plan layout. Okay, I can also hide all furniture if I wanted. And now we have a very basic plan. So I'm going to bring back the furniture and I'm going to turn off everything else for now. Now let's say I only want to show like the big structures. I'm just going to zoom in here a bit. The kind of like big furniture pieces and layout, and I don't need to show more decorative items. I can click on hide. And this is just like in render mode when you used to be called concealer, now it's called hide as well. We can click on individual items and just hide them away, you're not deleting them. So when I click on that, all of the products in my space are going to highlight green. And now I can get rid of specific ones. So maybe this console table doesn't need to be there. Maybe the clothes in the closet don't need to be there, or maybe I do want to show them just so that they're aware of what this is. I can click on individual products. I'm going to hide away this desk chair. Click on hide again to turn the tool off, or I can click the escape key, either one. And now those are hidden. Okay. So that's how you use that. If we quickly go from here into ceiling plan mode, so from floor plan to ceiling plan, now we can see all of the lighting, but because some of these items docked to the ceiling, they're also showing, but I just want to focus on the lighting. So that's where the hide tool really comes into play. I'm going to click on hide. And now for ceiling plan mode, I'm going to get rid of that. I don't need to see my stairs. These are all lights. Maybe I hide away the fridge and all of these items. And I see somebody just popped up in the Q&A. I will get to that in just 1 second. Okay. And there we go. So now I click on hide again. Those are gone. Here's our pendant light and the different recessed lights throughout the space. So Birney is asking, hi Birney, if you have created a mezzanine or extra floor, are you able to hide that floor? So yes, if you're in floor plan mode and it is an item, a product that you've brought into the space, it could be a floor docked cube, it could be a create new product, all of that is something that you could hide individually. So the same as I just, let me get rid of this Q&A box here. Sorry, the Q&A was blocking my view here. Just as I just hid away the base units, those were built on the floor using create new product, and I was able to hide them. Okay. There we go. So you'll notice that I moved into ceiling plan mode. You can save your work in ceiling plan mode, then you can go into floor plan mode. You can save your view as in floor plan mode, and those are two separate items, even within the same session. So again, very similar. If you're used to rendering and saving views in render mode, you can just save new views as you go, and then you can hop around to different ones. It's the same process here. But before we do that, let's say I want to get a little bit more specific with my labels here and not just show them this. I can go over here. The first thing is that you can set the material of your walls themselves. If you guys need any new materials added to this list, do reach out to chat support here and let them know, hey, I need this material added, and the team will be building on this list as we go. I'm not going to touch that for now. I'm going to go down to elements. I can mark my north facing wall, drag and drop, and then I can resize. I can clone it or I can delete it. Any shapes that I need, I can add here. So sometimes if I want to show that I'm going to have a rug, but I haven't figured out a rug for a floor plan, I'll just drag and drop one of these guys because it's nice and hollow, and then resize it just to show like, this is where, I'd have an area rug here, an area rug here, and we'll figure out the specifics a little bit later. But at first I want to get the floor plan approved, or you can just delete it. Okay, and then down to text. So I'm going to click, drag and drop, and now you can label the different areas. So maybe we have pendant light. I can click on edit. I can change my font, make this much smaller, center it, and then drag and drop it and go around labeling all the different light fixtures. If I don't want to have to reset the size and the font and the orientation every single time, all I'm going to do is click on this and click clone. And now I can bring this over here and just double click and change this to flush mount, click enter. And again, clone it, bring it on over, and that's just a faster way of doing it. Recessed lighting, I have another flush mount here. So I'm just going to clone this, right? Save as much time as possible. Only do the work once if you can. And now recessed lighting, I'm just going to clone it. I want to actually download this for you guys and show you. So that's why I'm taking the time to do this now. And once more in the hallway. There we are. Okay, so now we have everything nicely labeled. We've hidden away the things that we don't need to see. If you wanted to have specific measurements, but only like a few of them, I would recommend doing that in using the ruler tool in 2D mode. So I can show you guys that specifically if you need to. I'm seeing some things pop up in the Q&A. You're welcome. Okay. Alrighty, so from here, I'm going to save my view. I'm going to go over to save, and I'm just hovering my cursor. And I'm going to click on save as new view, and I'm going to say ceiling view. Click on save. There we go. And now the views are right here. So it's automatically going to tell me, hey, this is from the floor, this is from the floor. And then here's your ceiling view from ceiling plan mode. Okay, now if we go back to floor plan, we're looking at all of these items. You can get rid of these. I would recommend downloading this first so you don't lose any of this writing, and then you can go back into floor plan mode and save something there. Okay, so I'll show you what that looks like first. First off, if you are using another software like AutoCAD or Revit, you can download this as a DXF and then upload it into one of those software. If you want to export this as a PDF, you're going to click on Export Now. And then it's going to bring you to this page here. Okay, so there we are. Alrighty, so to the left, first you'll be able to give your floor plan a name. So, and that will be reflected right here. Right now it just says floor plan title. Maybe I'm going to save this to apartment electrical. Click enter, and that'll be reflected. And the next option is choosing the paper size. So again, we have a ton of different options, but if you don't find what you need, do let chat support know, and they can easily add this for you. So once you've selected this, you'll see if I change it, it's going to load for just a second, and the size of this might change a little. Okay, I'm going to bring it back to A1. And this right here is the scale. So you'll see the scale is 1 to 25, and that is, I'm working in feet and inches. This is that 1 inch is equivalent to 25 inches in real life. So for somebody measuring out the space, that's how they would use that. So that's equivalent to a 1/4 inch scale, which is pretty popular in the US. It's not active right now though, and that's just because fit to paper is turned on. So what I'm going to do if I wanted to change this scale is click on fit to paper. And in just a second, now you'll see that this is active. We can change it and then we'll fit it back to the paper. Okay, so you have, again, lots of different options here, but if you don't see what you need, just let the team know and they can add that. So maybe I want to change it to 1 to 40. Now it's very small, but if that's what you wanted, you'll see that the changes happen in real time. Change it to 1 to 20. We have a bigger space, but now we're losing some stuff. I'm going to bring it back to that 1/4 inch scale. And there we are. You can click on fit to paper just to kind of lock it into place. And then you can also change your view from landscape to portrait. And it'll continue to fit it to the paper. Alrighty. So last option is to edit your company details. And what's nice about this is once you set it the first time, it will automatically load. You'll see here, I've got my little logo and my business name and my email address right here. So I don't have to redo that every time I go into export floor plan. When you click on that, let me show you that once more. When you click on edit company details, it'll ask you to enter your company name, your email, and upload your logo as an image file. And then that will be saved there. And there we are. So if I like what I see, I'm good to go. Now all I'd have to do is click on download, and that will download to my computer as a PDF. And then I'll open that here. And here we are. Now I can go ahead and send this along to whoever needs it, maybe a contractor. They can print it out on the paper size that I specified, and they can check to scale. Let me check the Q&A. Oh, hi, anonymous. You know what? You're right. Let me double check that. Okay, so on the actual thing, it says 1 to 26.4, which is a little bizarre. That might be because of the size and it's scaling it, and that's the closest it could get to 125, but that's an excellent point. That might be a technical issue, or it's just the most precise scale. So I'll find out for you about that. But good catch. I would almost say to go by this more so, but I'll find out. If you, so my email is rachel@foyer.com. If you want to email me so that I have your information, I'll make sure to get you an answer directly. Okay. Alrighty, let me move my banner out of the way. Okay, so did that make sense to everybody? Does anybody have any questions about export floor plan? Do let me know. I'm just going to click cancel for now. We're brought back to this screen. I'm going to go to floor plan mode and just quickly show you something here. So you'll notice that the text does carry over. What I can do here though, since I've already exported my ceiling plan, is I can just use these text boxes and change the wording so that I'm not, dragging and dropping all over again. All right, so I might double click here and say 3-seater island. I might say main hallway, so on and so forth. This is a staircase. This is bathroom entry, so on and so forth, right? Same process. And let me quickly show you. If I save my view, save view as, type in webinar, click on save. I'm going to show you if you want to use the ruler tool to have specific dimensions show without all of your interior dimension, wall dimensions that get so busy. So let's say for here, this was actually a question that came up. The client wanted to know how much walk-in clearance they had here. So what I decided to do, first I checked it using guidelines, but I can also check that here in 2D mode using the ruler tool, which has been available to us all along. Right? So I'm clicking on ruler, and then I'm going to click on the edge of this bed, move it on out. It's going to snap onto the wall for me, and there we go. So now I know I have between 2 and 3 foot, 3 foot clearance, which is perfect. And then over here as well. So I'd probably move the bed over to make that a little bit more even. But what's nice here is that now I can go back to export floor plan. We'll just give that a second. I can go to my views. I can click on webinar here. And now, because I have my ruler tool turned on, these are showing right here without like a whole mess of other dimensions. Okay, so you can mark those specifically. And now I could download this in the exact same way. Okay, let me double check the chat. Alrighty, guys. So let me exit out of here, out of the screen. I'm gonna exit. And we can head into 3D mode once more. Any questions that you're having regarding Foyer 2.0, just not making sense to you, you're not quite sure how to use it, now's the time to ask. We do also have 2 other webinars on our YouTube channel. The first was an introduction to Foyer 2.0. So I go over the location of all of the new tools and some existing tools because the interface itself has changed some. Now we have this file tab, all different things like that. So that goes in depth into all of that. This is a little bit more specific. There's also a separate webinar just on export floor plan. So all different options for you. 2.0, yes. So Jessica's asking, is 2.0 ready to be used? And yes, the answer is yes. So how you would access that is from your dashboard. If you go to your dashboard here, at the top right-hand corner, you're going to find Neo 2.0. Right now I have it turned on. If I turn it off, you'll be in your existing dashboard. When you turn it on, you're going to have different projects. So right now, an important thing to know, I would recommend any new projects that you start them in Neo 2.0, because when you open up a new project, that's what's going to give you access to all of these tools that we're going over right now. If you open up a new project and you don't have this turned on, it's going to be using the old version of the software. And it's going to take about another few weeks, I think 2 to 3 weeks, for us to be able to migrate projects from the old version to the new version. So it will happen. It's just not available just yet. So any projects that you opened in the original version, you will only have access to those tools. And same for Foyer 2.0 for the next few weeks until we move everything over. Okay, so just make sure that you turn that guy on first. And Birney's asking, just like you said about right click to get the pan tool. Oh, are there any other shortcuts that we might not know about? Oh, gotcha. Okay. Any other shortcuts that you might not know about? Let me think, Birney. I would say, so that right click is super useful. Do also use your keyboard. And one thing that I will notice, so sometimes I will have a product selected and then I'm trying to zoom out using the scroll on my mouse. And it feels like I liken it to trying to like moving through water. It feels very slow and like it's not moving as quickly as it used to. That's because you have a product selected. So let me try and give you an example. I'm going to double click on this. Okay, and now what you might notice is that the further you try and get away from this, the speed at which you can move back might slow down. And this can be for anything. It can be, you could have selected a wall and then you try and move away and it feels really slow. That's because the software, because you have an item selected, the software is not wanting to distance you so far from the thing that it thinks that you're focusing on, right? So click the escape key so that you've deselected everything and then use the scroll and you should move faster. Something that I learned. Also, you can use the down arrow key. You can use the up arrow key. And now I'm moving in, left and right to orbit. Okay. The grouping, I think we went over everything for grouping that's new. You can throw a group like this into free movement and then into rotate and rotate in all directions now. If it's in free movement, you can click on edit and also set the rise from floor altogether, which is a new option as well. Let me think of any other shortcuts. Edit textures has a great new shortcut. This isn't really, this is related to Fourier 2.0. So let me show you in case you guys don't know about this. Let me find a good example here. Let's use the sofa. So before, this sofa is a great example because we have so many cushions. If I were to select this, click on edit, navigate to textures, it would bring up all of the different planes of this sofa and the different textures, right? So we can see that our base is this dark brown, and then we have 3 different planes with this fabric. But what wasn't clear from this is which plane was corresponding to which cushions, right? And this was kind of a frustration because you might have to select this, change the size of the tiles and then look and see where it was impacted. So an additional tool that's been added here is edit texture. When I click on this, now my cursor is going to change. And now when I hover my cursor, it's showing me what those 3 planes are, right? So it's the back cushions, the seat cushions, and the frame. Now I can click on the specific one that I want to edit, and it brings that up for me. So there's no more guessing. Such a huge time saver. And now we can go in and edit our tile size or our texture size or rotate or whatever we want to do. And then you just click the escape key to get out of that cursor. Okay, so that's right up here in the top right-hand corner. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so Jessica is asking, because I haven't done this yet, can we create a second floor attached to a first floor house? So if you're just looking for like a multi-level home, you can do that. Let me zoom out. So multi-level homes, and this is a great question. I was just talking to another customer about this today. I'm just going to give you a basic square for now. Multi-level homes start in 2D mode. And what you're going to do is you need to know the ceiling height for both floors. So let's say the ceiling height, I have 2 floors, the ceiling height in each is 10 feet. I'm going to click on a wall, click on edit. And this is the same process in both versions of the software. The default is full wall. So that means that the changes will apply to the complete floor plan. Even though I've only selected this wall, every wall on this grid will change when I change this number. And what I'm going to do is make my ceiling height accommodate both floors. So I'm going to set this to 20 feet, not 10 feet, and click enter. Now, when we head into 3D mode, We're going to have these really tall walls. And we're going to build a faux floor on this base floor, and then we're going to bring it up 10 feet above ground level. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that quickly. You will obviously have stairs going up to this space, so let's grab some stairs and I'll show you. All right, let's drag and drop these. Let's say it lives right there. And we'll bring it out just a bit. Okay, so now I'm going to get this nice top-down view. You can use your reset button here, or you can just manually do it with your scroll or with your mouse. And now I'm going to click escape and click on create new product. That's going to change the screen and the tools available to me. We have so many tutorials on YouTube related to create new products, so do be sure to check those out as well. I go into a lot more detail with that. And we're going to click on our rectangle tool. And now I'm going to cover the entire floor. So I'm going to click, it's going to snap me into this top left-hand corner. Click once, drag out my mouse, and click again. I'm just going to click the escape key to get out of that tool. And now this is going to be our second floor. So when I'm looking, an important note about push-pull. Push-pull is the tool that gives us height and depth to our products or to our shapes that we've created, and it allows us to resize planes very minutely and accurately. So it's a very useful tool. But if you are looking straight on, like I am right now, at a shape that you've created and you're trying to give it height, in this case, I can't pull my cursor out of the computer screen towards me, right, to show the software like, hey, I want you to come back. And when designers are trying to pull it towards them, the software gets confused and maybe pushes it away, and then it's going in the opposite direction and it gets a little frustrating. So you will notice that anytime I'm using push-pull, we need to tell the software, we can't tell the software, we can't pull the cursor out towards us. So what we're going to do is orbit our screen to the side so that we're looking at it from a side angle. And now when we grab push-pull, we can clearly, I'm just moving my mouse up. So now it's very clear to the software which direction I want it to go. If I wanted to go down, I would push it down, right? So I'm going to just orbit my screen to the side, push this up, and I'm just going to give it like an inch. Doesn't need to be anything crazy. And there we are. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to click done real quick. And I'm going to throw this into free movement, click on edit, and set my Y, which is my raise from floor, to 10 feet. So now it's in place. I can resize my stairs as needed. Activate my pan tool there. Okay. Now that I've placed this exactly where it needs to be, I need to create the cavity for these stairs so that people aren't just running into the ceiling, right? So I'm going to click on the floor, and then I'm going to click on modify. The first thing that it's going to do is hide the environment away so that I can focus on this space. But in this case, I need to see the environment. So I'm going to go down here to hide environment and unhide it so that I can see the outline of these stairs. Now you can use the pen tool or you can use the rectangle tool. I'm going to use the rectangle tool because it's easier. It's drawing 4 lines for me rather than just 1, which is what the pen tool does. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click, let me zoom in there a little bit. It wants to snap me onto that edge rather than over here. So I'm just going to pull it on down, and getting a little bit closer will help. And then I'm going to guesstimate, because I can use push-pull to be more precise in just a second, where those stairs live. Once again, you'll see me orbit to the side because now I'm going to grab push-pull. These are 2 separate planes that I can now manipulate, and I'm going to click, move my mouse down, and literally slice away and create a cavity for these stairs. So because I feel like the brightness on my computer is rather low right now, hopefully that's a little bit better. There we go, guys. Sorry about that. Now, because I've given this floor a little bit of height, that 1 inch, and you can always make it thicker if it's easier to work with and then bring it on down. So I'll exaggerate it right now for you. I have all of these edges that I can individually manipulate using push-pull. So I can click here and tuck this away or bring it back in, hold down my left click and orbit around. This is a little too far out, so I'm going to bring it back in. I can shorten this here if it doesn't need to be that long, right? And now I can orbit it back to the side and push pull it back on down. Oops, there we go. And click done. Now you have a second floor. And what's nice about Create New Product is that each one of these planes can have a different texture applied to it. So you could have a floor texture. Say we want to grab our copy texture material tool and mimic the stair texture. Bring it on up and place it. Click the escape key, bring it on down, and then I can have a ceiling paint color applied to the bottom here. Okay. You're welcome. All right, let me double check the Q&A here. Okay. Alrighty, guys. Well, if there are any more questions, ask now. If something comes up in the future and you're like, oh, I need this answer, I need an answer to this question ASAP, do check out the Foyr community. I'll show you guys right now. So if you go in the Foyr community, you can add a post here, and with the hashtag ask a question, you'll see here it's one of our trending hashtags as well. And then myself, I'm on here every day, myself or another member of the Foyr team will give you an answer right away. If you need a demo, you can of course sign up for a demo, but sometimes this is a nice little quick, hey, tell me what's going on, or tell me what to do. We can link you a YouTube video, all of that. Okay, so this is just another resource for you all. Alrighty. And Ryan is just letting you guys know that this will also, he's linking you to the Foyr community, and he's also letting you know that this will be on YouTube for you to review, so you don't have to remember everything that we went over today. Alrighty, if that is it, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Alrighty, bye. Bye.